Let me ask you this. In terms of lifestyle, what is the pros? What is the cons of being a professional thought leader?
Yeah, I think it's awesome from a lifestyle perspective. And especially it depends on how you set it up. So in my previous company, we did a road tour. My wife and I, after graduating college, we basically purchased an RV and we did events in all 40 states. Our company did. We did over 450 half-day conferences. We also placed
Wow.
1,000 keynote speakers.
Wow.
And I love the impact of that business. But
Mm,
on the negative side of it, it was doing the same talk over and over. And so
mm,
it wasn't as fulfilling intellectually.
mm,
Now with something like the Mental Model Club or with writing, I'm constantly exploring new ideas. And so I love it from a lifestyle perspective because number one, I get to learn something that I'm curious about and then apply it to my life. So that just, even if that was it, I'd be really happy. And then I get paid for it, which means I could do more of it and I could build a team of people who are also involved in that. And then part of I can have an impact and I can also build a community of other people who want to learn that same thing. And also the fact that you learn so much by teaching someone else and explaining to someone else that from a self-growth perspective, if you value that in your career path, it is something where you get way more growth than other areas of my experience.
So the pros is you get to learn more, you get to deepen your understanding, you get to also teach, share your learning and your style of learning with others. You get to constantly be immersed in new knowledge. So if this is something that you like, that's the pros of being a professional thought leader, yeah?
Yeah, I would say the other part is scalability. That if I
Mm,
write an article, the cost in terms of hosting the web page and other things is the same whether it's 10 people or a million or even 10 million people. And
mm,
so it's exciting that if you really take the time to perfect this craft, that with just a little bit of effort, you could reach millions and tens of millions of people, which is just a crazy amount of leverage. I've had a lot of different points in my career where that hasn't been a fit.
mm,
And part of it is that I'm someone who's curious and I like learning and being put in new environments. And I realized I was self-sabotaging myself as an entrepreneur because
mm,
as soon as I figured out something in the business and it started to become all more about operations,
mm,
I became less interested for whatever
mm,
reason, just how I'm wired. I
mm.
like that newness. And it's a career that can fulfill if you're a polymath and like learning across different areas. And I would say for someone who doesn't like constantly learning or going across different areas or teaching or they find writing tedious, then it would be a nightmare career, basically.
Okay.
And a lot of people
Yeah,
don't enjoy reading and or writing.
I there's a reason why we're talking. Yes, yes. So what are some of the cons, if you don't mind going into it? From your perspective, right? Cons of being a professional thought leader. Maybe I can kickstart this. From our conversation and our work together, one of the things that could be considered as a con is that you constantly go through that creative struggle. You stare
Right.
into the abyss. You stare into that blank screen, right? So you need to be comfortable with that discomfort. That's perhaps one of the cons, right? And then perhaps another con of being a professional thought leader is you're alone a lot. So if you enjoy that, great. But if you don't, then perhaps not. So obviously there's different ways to get around it. But as a thought leader, that silent space is really important. So these are
And
some of the things that I see. Are there things that is
I
potentially
feel
the
like it's
con?
very individualistic
Mhm.
because the things that you mentioned are also one of the reasons I really like it.
Right.
In learning how to learn, there's this idea of desirable difficulty
Mm,
that one of the things that one of the ways we learn something more is it by it being difficult and our body and our brain struggling to remember it or to use a concept that actually helps it sink deeper. So I actually really like the hard parts of the process of with an idea of like, all right, how do I narrow down or how do I really say this correctly? It doesn't come across as a struggle. Where for me, what comes across as a struggle is more in just the operational parts. And that's my weakness that I have to, and I have a team that helps on that. And that's what they love.
cool. So all pros, no con.
It feels really weird to say, but for me at this point, there's not to say there's not challenges, but I feel really good. I feel good and it's worthwhile versus the suffering where you're just challenges and you don't see where it's going and you feel like it's going backwards.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good indicator, right? If you speak about it in an authentic way, not in a posturing way, but in an authentic way, that means there's that soul market fit, that you're actually on your path, on your dharma to do the things that your soul wants to do.
Yeah. I used to not believe in that because I remember during the tour, I came to the conclusion that I had to really force myself to do things and be really disciplined. And that, okay, I guess I'm not following through as much on some areas, so I guess I'm not disciplined, is what I came to. Or I'd read something like Warren Buffett says he's like a kid in the candy store or he's dancing to work. I'm just like, is that really true or not? And so now knowing what I know, I could really see that there's certain types of businesses and ways of starting them or running the company where that strength, that thing that is normally a weakness could be a strength. So, because in this area, I am very disciplined.